Before we begin, this video is sponsored by... just kidding. As if I'd pick up one of the NFT scams I've been reached out by. Nah, I just wanted to say thank you for nearly over 300,000 views on part 1, and for over 70,000 subscribers. I'm so grateful to have made it this far thanks to you all, and I hope you enjoyed part 2. No, seriously, part 2 is gonna begin right now. Here we are, Frostbite Caves. Like in our PvZ2 with only PvZ1 plants challenge, we'll have to thaw out these plants and shovel them before they attack or get attacked by the zombies. Day 2 introduces freezing winds, which may be a problem as Doom is not a heater or immune to frost. This also leads to distracting interactions like this. I did find a niche strat to counteract the frost though, which is to plant food nearly frozen Dooms to reset every Doom on the lawn. As with every world past Dark Ages, prepare for a ton of skipped conveyors. Day 4 introduces Hunter Zombie, who can invalidate Doom-shroom pretty well. Nothing plant food can't handle though. You could also plant Dooms on top of them to force them to eat them, but you'd miss out on the multiplication mechanic. We unlocked Vasebreaker! Again. Pepperpolt intro level. Next. Locked and half loaded, huh? Hunters are a big problem here, as well as the freezing winds. You gotta make sure you have a Doom-shroom around to thaw out its friends, which plant food helps with. The early game is also really ramping up, with more zombies per opening wave. I realize I haven't even brought up slider tiles, but they honestly make things a lot more manageable. Only thing that sucks about them is when Doom multiplies behind them, which isn't even a slider tile problem. You know, we're 8 levels into Frostbite Caves, and we're on our 3rd impossible special delivery level. I feel like it's gonna get old to disrupt the challenge pacing with this level's impossible for the 100th time, so let's try something interesting. For each road in the mid-game, I'm gonna do a random ranking, provided by a friend, within the time it takes to list every impossible level. And when we return to the world, we can run through it without any interruptions. Let's spin the wheel to see who will give us our first ranking. By the way, I could have little to no knowledge on what I'm ranking, so you might hear some crazy takes. Kat, aka Pocket Painter, wants us to rank the My Little Pony cast on who's most likely to commit atrocities to pony kind. I've sat through all 4 Equestria Girls movies, and most of season 1 with my friends, which isn't a lot, but enough to say that these 5 ain't doing dick. Spike is very unlikely, but he's also a fucking dragon. And if Dave & Buster's is anything to go by, the odds are never 0.
Dragons have invaded Dave & Buster's.
Pinkie Pie's a big step up in the ranking, but I feel like any damage she causes would be accidental. Still, most accidental damage is preventable damage. Ain't no party like a Pinkie party. Finally, we have the big 3. I don't remember a lot about Sunset Shimmer, but Kat says she blasted a school and enslaved an entire student population, so I'm rolling with that. Rainbow Dash would get her favorite piece of lint stolen by Fluttershy, and probably start a Category 5 hurricane. And Princess Luna, I mean, come on. She looks way too cool to not leave 37 buried and 0 found. And that's my semi-blind ranking. And now that the impossible levels have been tallied, let us continue. Day 9 introduces Dodo Rider Zombie. It could fly over slider tiles, but not Doom-shroom. Considering how much trouble Day 11 gave me in my first challenge, I was expecting this one to be hell. However, it wasn't that bad. Diverting zombies to one lane made the level very easy to manage, and these Dooms have more than enough range to thaw each other out when frozen. One of the hardest levels of Frostbite Caves, trivialized. Last Stand. I planted my Doom-shrooms in a way that allowed them to unfreeze each other, which worked well enough. You could screw yourself over if Hunter is the last zombie remaining, but that's what plant food and or lawnmowers are for. Day 13 is our first encounter with Sloth Gargantua, which we took care of no problem. Now, Day 15 is impossible, but I like to touch on it quickly. I got a comment on part 1 suggesting that even if a Save Our Seeds level is impossible for our challenge, it'd still be worth beating them under our challenge restrictions. So, I want to try that. Day 15 is surprisingly difficult, even with the assisting Pepperpolts. However, you really only have to prioritize lanes 1 and 5, and use your plant food against Hunter Zombies. Day 17 introduces Troglodyte Zombie. Like Barrel Roller, you have to deal with the imps after thawing them, but otherwise, Doom deals with Troglodyte all the same. Thawing and shoveling these plants before they attack is a pain in the ass, so I decided to play around keeping them frozen. Unfortunately, doing so is a pain in itself, but it is possible. God fucking damn it. Weasel Hoarders are like chicken wranglers, but worse, as they have a delay before being released. Timing is so important in this challenge, and unless all the weasels are sent out, some spawn right after a Doom goes off, taking out another Doom or a mower. This one took so many tries, but as I suggested, letting all the weasels be sent out to kill with a few Dooms is the play. Day 23 is another impossible Save Our Seeds level, since the level sends snowstorms out to our charge guards, but let's give it a try anyways. Sylvan Under, if you're watching this, you better smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you'll never miss an upload because this level fucking sucks and I could've just skipped it. This is another one where your Doom multiplication RNG has to be near perfect to take care of the obscene amount of Weasel Hoarders. It's possible, and Charge Guard's plant food effect is surprisingly more helpful here than Doom's, but it took an embarrassing amount of tries to get down. Sun Goal level. Thank God I could skip this level because this one's ass.
It's a cold world. So is the ice. So is the ice.
Fuck. I'm so used to Doom being in slot 1. Things almost got bad, but with good RNG, this one's possible. Doom's weird starting recharge, combined with slow sun production, means that we can't get a defense going before Rutabaga attacks the zombies. At the very least, this is one of the easiest Save Our Seeds levels in Frostbite Caves, even with 2 guards. And that's the end of a weirdly numbered 30-level world. The Frost presented a bit of a challenge, but for the first time ever, I'd argue that Wild West was harder. Slider tiles were just so helpful. Now well, let's take a detour to Lost City. I've been looking forward to this world to see how these zombies would interact with Doom-shroom, but completely forgot about gold tiles. Good sun production seriously emphasizes Doom's power. Lost City may just be the easiest world. I was thinking Lost Pilot zombies could be a problem if they spawn wave 1, but again, with gold tiles, Doom dominates this level. Hey, it's that one level where 4 zombies all spawn with plant food on the bottom lane. And since it's our first impossible level in Lost City, that means it's time for another random ranking. Let's get those impossible levels counted down and see who the lucky winner is. Void, who wants us to rank playable male Genshin Impact character designs. How many playable male characters are there? The things I do for this channel. I've been looking at the wiki for 3 minutes. Who the f is this? Okay, Aether, C tier. Albedo, cool, B tier. Alitham, lower B tier. Ayato, ooh, fancy, upper C tier. Baishu, I like your snake. Reminds me of Woody. Upper D tier. Bennett, D tier. Chongyun, C tier? Seno, cool silhouette, upper B tier. Diluc, looking fresh, lower A tier. Fremine, I kinda f with Snake Guy more, maybe I shouldn't have put him that low. Perhaps I treated you too harshly. C tiers. Gaming? I'd like to apologize, Gumming. You're like this guy, but cooler, ironically. Upper C tier. Goro, lower C tier. Heishu, lower C tier. Ito, finally someone interesting. Upper B tier. Kaya, oh my god! Nah, you're clean as f, lower A tier. Kave, nah, you are not going up there. Lower B tier. Kazuha, lower A tier. Kanich, damn, you're cool. B tier. Linny, I appreciate the direction, I don't know about the execution. Lower C tier. Mika, lower C tier. Nivelette, lower B tier. Auroron, top is way cooler than the bottom. Lower B tier. Razor, lower B tier. Sethos, I like their eyes. Lower B tier. Tartaglia, clean. Upper B tier. Damn, I really am stingy with my A and S tiers. Toma, kinda reminds me of Future Connected Shulk. Upper B, you know what, this is pissing me off. There. Tainari, A tier, finally! Venti, Wanderer, and Recently are all S tier. These designs are fucking peak. Xiao, really had to work for these A and above tiers, huh? Xingqiu, B tier, and Shongli, B tier. Thank you, Void, PVZ, Day 4 introduces Excavator Zombie, who can dig up Dooms without setting them off. I had forgotten that you could plant a Doom on them right out of their shovel detection range to force them to eat, which persists throughout my whole run of Lost City. Nevertheless, mowers deal with them early, as well as nearby Doom-shrooms. Just be smart about how you play your cards. For some reason, Doom can't leave a Scorch tile on gold tiles. This world keeps getting easier and easier. Day 7 introduces Parasol Zombie, who's essentially a speedier Conehead in this challenge. Easy peasy. Day 11 introduces Bug Zombie, which is the first zombie that directly bypasses Doom-shroom. We'll need to kill them through plant food, nearby dooms, or lawnmowers. No way, a sun goal level that might actually be possible? Well, that was short-lived. Despite the amount of gold tiles at our disposal, I could not see us feasibly reaching 5,000 sun before the level ends. Our best run saw us reaching half the goal, but if there's one thing Doom-shroom can't do, it's stall. Day 15 is Lost City's only Save Our Seeds level. This should come as a surprise, given it's the only world to have just one, but Lost City's also the only world to not have a Last Stand level. This level's impossible for our challenge, but is otherwise a standard difficulty level. The AKEEs have just enough time to kill an excavator so long as you could distract them with a doom, which could also be shoveled for sun, assuming they get too far off the lawn. Day 17 introduces Importer Zombie, who's quite the threat early game. We'll have to rely on our lawnmowers at the start of the level, so that we have enough time to generate sun. Unfortunately, the gold tiles being further up the lawn does not help. Horrible wave progression. Day 20 was the first level I had to restart due to using my mowers too early. Otherwise, this level was difficult, but possible. Day 23 introduces Relic Hunter Zombie, who's just a beefier swashbuckler zombie that can land on different tiles. And although this can be a hindrance at times, Doom takes them out no problem. Because we're nearing to unlock Gold Leaf, there have been far less gold tiles in the lawn in recent levels. And I mean far less. The final special left to introduce is Turquoise Skull Zombie, who can set off dooms akin to Explorer Zombie, but at a range. This could be a problem, but it also leads to interactions like these. The assist is fucking crazy. Day 29 was around the time I finally remembered that you can plant a doom right behind an excavator to force them to eat it. Better late than never, I guess. Finally, Day 30. This one caused me so much trouble in my first challenge without Blover, but with Doom-shroom, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It's weird, the hard levels are usually easy, but the easy levels are usually hard. Either that or the easy levels are easy. You can never tell with this plan, it's so fucking overpowered. And that's Lost City. With such sun production, it was a surprisingly easy world. Definitely not on par with Ancient Egypt, but just a smidge below Wild West in my opinion. Let's keep moving forward to...
What weenies? What?
Far future. Like with gold tiles, Doom won't scorch power tiles. However, because Doom's plant food activates every Doom on the lawn by default, power tiles aren't really useful to us. Day 1 also introduces Jetpack Zombie, who's just a flying basic zombie. Jetpacks are usually never a problem, but because they don't eat and spawn frequently to incentivize using Blover, we'll have to be smart about our plant food and mower usage. Day 2 introduces Shield Zombie, who, shield or not, does not survive a Doom-shroom. For the first time ever, sun bomb levels are, dare I say, fun? We have a steady sun supply to plant dooms, as well as a secondary source of damage for jetpack zombies. Day 5 introduces Robocon Zombie. This zombie could actually survive eating a stage 3 Doom-shroom, but another one covers the remaining HP. I hope you didn't scroll too far in the future and not know that it's ranking time. Day 6. I have no idea where I'm going with this joke. Spin that wheel already! Joss, who wants us to rank the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 main cast on how they'd spend a day with me. I've only ever played Xenoblade 1, so I've never met these f***s in my life. Starting off, we have the Mundane tier, which is reserved for Noah. While he may not look the part, I feel like Noah would be super chill to hang with. The kind of guy you'd end the day with having a long, philosophical conversation under the stars. Moving up, we have the Adventurers, Mio and Senna. I can see myself exploring a huge mall with Mio. Window shopping, some Wetzel's pretzels, hell yeah. As for Senna, I'll take any excuse to play volleyball or go to the gym with a friend. The next tier is one I like to call Going Out. I may be thinking too much of the high Entias, but I'd like to imagine Uni taking me to an expensive restaurant like it's no big deal, and having to fork over $100 on something the Monopoly man would eat. Finally, we have my favorite tier, Some Dumb Shit, which is reserved for these two goons. I feel like Tyon's the kind of guy to invite me over just to binge an anime no one other than himself wants to watch. He'd also be cracked at Smash, and a frequent visitor of Advice Animals.
The Republicans.
Finally, there's Lance, who feels the closest to Ryan. This guy's a total wild card. We'd either go on the adventure of a lifetime, Or sit in a blank room eating mechon parts. What a Chad. Now, let's return to the masterclass that is modern PvZ 2. Jesus Christ. Assuming the dooms can multiply over the plant limit, I have to make sure I don't have too many dooms in the lawn at once. Still, I feel like I cut it close several times. I'm not sure if the devs considered Doom's multiplication mechanic for these levels, but I don't want to find out. Oh boy, Discotron 3000s. Without Blover and Doom's inability to take out flying zombies without plant food or nearby zombies, we can't let these guys summon too many Disco Jetpack zombies. As such, I based my strat around the front of the lawn, and that worked pretty well. A Stage 3 Doom could also take out a Discotron, no problem. Last stand. We were super lucky to have other zombies set off the Dooms for these Jetpack zombies, to the point where we didn't even need plant food. What is this, a reference to WALL-E? Why these imps drop so many fucking saplings? Day 13 introduces the Saboteur of Symmetry, Mecha Football Zombie. The fact that he can push a big-ass nuke off the lawn without it exploding is extremely concerning. Don't spend more than X, son. For the most part, I like to reword my notes for these scripts, but I honestly think I put it best when I wrote, if Far Future were stingier with plant food, these jetpacks would have railed us. Day 15 sees us protecting 3 Citrons in Column 7. Considering how far that is into the lawn, as well as how much time Doom needs to grow, I figured this one wouldn't be beatable by default. However, these Citrons seriously carried. The first wave allowed us to set up a defense for the front and what I presumed would have been for the middle. So by the time these zombies really started pouring in, I had enough Dooms and plant food to cover all sides. Pair that with a Scorch Tile Power Tile interaction, and we were as safe as could be. Day 19's another Sunbomb level, but I just wanted to point out how much fun I found them to be in this challenge. Day 20 is the Endangered Starfruit level, which outside of being impossible for the challenge, is surprisingly difficult due to how little time we have to set up our defense. I believe I had confused Day 15 for this one, because this level requires us to protect the front from zombie mechs, and the middle from bot swarms. It takes a bit of luck to have your Dooms multiply in the right places, as well as knowing when and when not to let a mower go. But after a couple fails, we had this one in the bag. Day 22 is another Last Stand level. Things look bad at the start, but it's all about knowing when to use your Dooms or your mowers, as using one mower on several mechs is sometimes better than using several Dooms on a few mechs. And Day 23 and 24 are easy peasy. Overall, Far Future was an interesting experience. It's usually one of my least favorite worlds to replay, and there were a lot of zombies that challenged Doom-shroom. However, levels were either really easy, or simply provided enough plant food to deal with Doom's counters. I'm pleasantly surprised, but not at all threatened. Thankfully, we've got quite the world for that coming up.
Whoa! Skips is gonna be so surprised when he comes in and sees us totally naked.
It's not that kind of party, muscle man.
Oh. Don't turn on the lights.
If we hadn't transitioned to how much of PvZ 2 is possible with only Doom-shroom, Dark Ages would have been the final nail in the coffin for my challenge run, as we can't afford a single Doom-shroom. However, I'd still like to see how much of Dark Ages is theoretically possible with only Doom-shroom. So I got to thinking, how could I replicate the sun falling from the sky at night? My first thought was to plant one sunflower, but doing so would cost 50 sun, which at night would change how the early game plays. Then, I thought about using Gravebuster exclusively for sun graves. However, not every level has sun graves. Finally, I thought about using one gold bloom per level. A premium solution for sure, but one that started me with 2 Doom-shrooms. Unfortunately, luck would play an even greater role in determining how the rest of the run would go. I just need a zero-cost, permanent sun producer. So let's try Solar Sage. When planted, Solar Sage produces 50 sun at no cost. It does more than that, but for the sake of the challenge, we'll be using it in Dark Ages to get 50 sun every 20 seconds. It's not a one-to-one replacement, but it feels fair and consistent. Nights 2 and 3 are pretty easy. Sun and plant food graves are helpful, and we're able to get Dooms out at a decent pace considering their power. In fact, I think it's worth bringing up how many people think Doom got nerfed going into PvZ 2. While it can't instantly destroy in a 7x5 area anymore, it's arguably better on every front. Its damage is higher, its sun cost is more affordable, its recharge is faster, its crater can be negated, and it's easier to stack. My only complaints are that its plant food is hit or miss, and that it's not immune to everything. But even then, this plant is OP, and people that say otherwise are harder PVZ-1 glazers than me. Ironically, the level with only PVZ-1 plants is impossible for our challenge. We've also arrived at the final random ranking of this video. No need to spin the wheel, as Dawn wants us to rank the main cast of Family Guy. Man, I hope this doesn't go worse than the time I ranked Firehaven below A tier. Peter Griffin is Peter Griffin. Some of the show's best lines and moments come from Peter just being Peter, and although I'm speaking in the context of the earlier seasons, they're enough to rank Peter in S tier. Despite her status as a main character, it took seasons for Lois to get more spotlight episodes, which are interesting. Her voice actress is also super talented, and the animators go above and beyond at capturing her expressiveness. A tier.
Here comes Grimace.
Chris is such a nothing character. He had 2 spotlight episodes about wanting to be an artist in the earlier seasons, but after that he just became a bit of a gooner.
Touch my feet!
D tier. Meg was arguably the second main character in the earlier seasons. Then she became a punching bag, and now she's somewhere in the middle? The dichotomy of serious to stupid Meg stories is pretty jarring, but at least they're doing something with her. B tier.
I stole Meg's cutaway.
Despite the shift in characterization, Stewie is surprisingly consistent, as well as consistently hilarious. S tier.
And another. What?
Brian's a hard character to dislike. 1, he's a dog. 2, he's an excellent partner to Stewie. 3, he's voiced by the mouse from Sing. 4, even at his worst, he's always entertaining. And 5,
Hi. He's a dog?
where the f do I start with Quagmire? Shtick aside, Quagmire's at his funniest when he, ironically, plays a straight man to everyone else's antics.
You think they were following us?
Either that or they got a grudge against our back windshield.
Oh, Joe, that's so dumb.
B tier, I guess? Next up is...
Cleveland Brown.
Cleveland's certainly a charming character. Most likely peaked in his own show, but outside of that, he's alright. C tier.
Ah! What the?
Finally, there's Joe. Despite mellowing out as a character, the running gag of Joe trying to fit in, paired with Patrick Warburton's deliveries, is hilarious. A tier.
Peter Griffin, you've been a busy boy.
What was that?
It's a cool way to say something.
And that's the final ranking. Thank you to the crew for participating. Now, on to the rest of Dark Ages. What the f*** is Jester gonna reflect? Night 6 is one of 2 fully possible levels for our challenge. We don't need Solar Sage, and we can use Doom-shroom. Simple as that. Night 7 is our first night without Sungraves, as well as an intro to Night Zombie. Less sun means less dooms, but we're good so long as we play smart and get lucky with the multiplication. Night Zombie is also just not a threat to us. I always forget about evil potions. Speedy potions could be a problem early on, as we need all the time we can get for sun and dooms. This one wasn't bad overall. Night 11 introduces Wizard Zombie, who's up there as one of the biggest threats to Doom-shroom. Not only do they turn our dooms into sheep, but they're also slow enough to stay out of Doom's explosion radius, and smart enough to not eat plants. Thankfully, Dark Ages is super lenient with plant food, but I could not imagine dealing with them later on. This is one of those levels that's impossible by default, as Puffshrooms attacking the graves affects the gameplay. In terms of general completion though, it's quite tough. Having to micromanage our Puffshroom's lifespan and Solar Stage Sun production on top of our Doom defense is intense. There's also Wizards, and Jester, who hasn't been a problem in our challenge, becomes a problem if we plant food our Puffshrooms without Dooms protecting them. Whew, that was hard. Penis. Night 15 is another last stand, and the second fully possible level for our challenge. Wizards are problematic, but I found that planting Doom-shroom right after a wizard casts gives it enough time to grow to stage 2, which could then be plant-fed, to grow again and explode. The point is, you don't want to end up in a situation where wizards have casted everything, as it's a slow march to death without sun, plant food, or mowers. Thankfully, I have yet to experience that. I recall this one having sun graves, so I'm gonna take the beginning to accumulate sun. King Zombies are also introduced here, but their ability is irrelevant when it comes to Doom-shroom. Well, that's fucking lame. Hey, remember what I said just about 20 seconds ago? I don't know whether to be impressed or really pissed off. This level sucks. It took so many tries to beat this one, but I swear the stars aligned on my winning run. Perfect multiplication, instant sungrave destruction, nearby zombies killing wizards, and a lane 3 Doom-shroom at the final wave to kill everything with plant food. Glorious. On the complete opposite end, Night 17 is incredibly easy due to how many sungraves you're given. You still have to be smart about dealing with wizards, but you're provided more than enough to do so. Finally, there's Night 19. Even though Magnet affects the gameplay by attracting armor, I'm tempted to make an exception for them as Doom defeats these zombies regardless of armor. Unfortunately, Solar Sage's sun production was just too slow to build a defense, so I tried using Gold Bloom. The level was possible, but I definitely made the right choice using Solar Sage. Gold Bloom just felt too strong. And that's my wacky run of Dark Ages. Considering how much I had to bend my rules for this world, I'm not sure what to take out of it. Only one level was exceptionally difficult, only 2 were possible overall, and 3 out of 4 specials were just glorified basic zombies to Doom-shroom. I must admit though, I'm excited to leave Dark Ages and enter the late game. Starting with... Shout out to my channel members, Obama Gangnam Style, Metal Mario 64, Jan, Edsel.t, Harold Total Drama Island Fan, Mike Man Crawlboy Pickleson Fruitloop III, Cluttery Guy, Macchiato Sam, Ominous Anon, Hailstorm Magma, and Mama Sauce. Sorry I forgot you last time, bro. If you're a channel member and want a shout out in my next video, feel free to leave a comment on this members only community post. Thank you. Also listen to Whisper Jazz's work. Okay, bye!